Hey, fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. I've been doing these predictions for every round, so I'm going to keep up until the end. I hope you're not tired of them. I find the Grand Slams to be extra important and the kind of marketing vehicle for tennis, and I want to make sure I'm following it as closely as I possibly can, although I'm not there. Hopefully next year I can be at the Australian Open and doing these recaps and more reports and so on. But let's get into it. We have the quarterfinals now lined up on both the men's and the women's side. We start with the men's. First of all, we look at Djokovic versus Taylor Fritz, a match with a scary head-to-head. I think pretty much every player on the earth has a pretty scary head-to-head against Novak. There are a few exceptions. Taylor Fritz, he has 8-0, only won 2 sets in the Australian Open 2021 when Novak had that injury problem and still managed to win the match. So I think it's gonna look pretty grim for Taylor Fritz. He has to go all in, he has to go all out, try to get to the net, try to shorten points, try to attack second serves. He has to just throw things in there. The issue in this match is I think he's not the kind of player that does that stuff. He's not so experimental. He plays his style from the baseline. And I think that might hurt him in the long run. I was really in two minds whether I will give him a set or just have a Novak 3 straight sets win. I'm going to be nice here and give Taylor a set, but I do doubt it in the back of my mind because Novak is in better shape now than he was before. There's been talk about some kind of illness he's suffering from. It's been evident that he's not 100%, but he's still winning matches and he's still winning them relatively easily, like with Manarino. He hasn't had like a huge test in terms of opponent. I don't think Fritz is that test either because his style is so suitable to Novak. He likes when he gets kind of flat, heavy pace. Through the court, he can just redirect pace. He's so good at absorbing pace and you doing something aggressive and doing something smart with it. And I think that this kind of matchup suits him so well. And that head-to-head is just, pretty sad news for Taylor Fritz. So I would say Novak winning in 3 or 4. We will see. But yeah, that is, in my head, the most straightforward match in this quarterfinal lineup. Then we have the blockbuster, I would say, the Sinner versus Rublev. Two huge ball strikers. Rublev has that monkey on his back when he tries to get to the semifinal stage of a Grand Slam. He's been in the quarterfinals, I don't know how many times. But he needs to kind of get past that stage. Part of me thought that he would do it this year, but then I saw the draw with Sinner, as you might have seen in my previous predictions when I tried to go through the whole draw. I always thought that Sinner is too good and in too good of a form. You know, he's not even making it much of a match in his matches so far. So I think I don't see Rublev, being enough to beat him in a 5-set match. He could make it quite difficult for Sinner, since Sinner has had it pretty comfortable so far. Okay, the Khachanov match was a little bit competitive, but still a straight set win. Sinner is the only player who hasn't lost a set so far, and I think he will lose 1 set to Rublev. He's just better at the ball striking game from the baseline than Rublev is in pretty much every respect. Like, it's power might be equal, but the movement of Sinner is quite superior, I would say. And I think he seems to be adding layers to his game. And I would say also mentally, he's a little bit more kind to himself and a little bit more calm. We all love Rublev. We all love his kind of behavior and how he acts and talks. Super sweet guy, but in this matchup, I think the calm head of Sinner and he's just like slowly and steadily improving his game, I think is too much. So I will say Sinner in 3-1 in sets. Then we have a more difficult match to predict. I think the most even match in this quarterfinal on the men's side. Hurkacz versus Medvedev. Last time they played was in 2022. They played twice in Halle and in Miami. And Hurkacz actually won both of those matches. Those were 3-set matches. It's a bit of a different dynamic. I think also Medvedev is even better now. It's been tough in between these two players, and it's kind of hard to predict a winner. I have a strong feeling about 5 sets here, but I do think the mental strength and the experience in these types of situations goes to Medvedev, and that's why I will predict Medvedev in 5. But Hurkacz has kind of slowly and swiftly, silently been going through the draw. You don't talk a lot about him. He just gets it done. He kind of like silent assassin. But I think against Medvedev, it's a little bit too much of a task. I believe 5 sets, but I think Medvedev is the guy to beat here, and he will win in 5. Then we have the last quarterfinal on the men's side. Zverev, who I just watched before recording this, he did win in the end against Cameron Norrie was a hard-fought match. I think most of Sverre's matches, except one against Mikkelsen, they've been really, really tough. And he doesn't look great. I think he's serving really well. I think that saves him. Without the serve, the forehand doesn't look like as strong as it can be. And the confidence does seem to be there when he needs to win the match, but he's not playing freely and flowing on the tennis court. So I just find that I think he will have a tough time against Alcaraz. Alcaraz looked great against Kecmanovic. Didn't give him a chance. I don't know if Kecmanovic had some kind of injury issue or some little bit of a hiccup after the Tommy Paul 5-setter. He also had a 5-setter, a tough one against Struff. So there were at least some tired legs on Kecmanovic, but still, it's Alcaraz. He is a fierce competitor and a brilliant player, and he should get it done against Zverev. I would say in 4 sets. I think Zverev's serving and determination. He's a very determined player, quite mentally strong, I would say. Will give him a set, but I don't see him doing more than that against Alcaraz in this tournament. So there we have it. We then have Alcaraz Medvedev and Sinner Djokovic. What popcorn semifinals that would be. That would be absolutely amazing. 2 great matches, and just something to really savor and look forward to. Hopefully time zones allow some watching, but it's always tough when you're in Europe. All right, let's get to the women's side of things. So the women's quarterfinals, we have some quite surprising results there. I've said that multiple times in these predictions, and it's been pretty bad predictions overall, and I don't really give myself too much criticism because I think most top seeds have just gone straight out. Even in that match where I thought Svitolina was the strongest player and she would win, then she ended up having an injury and retiring after 3-0. So yeah, that threw a spanner in my predictions as well. And now Noskova, who is the kind of shining sensation of the tournament, you would argue, is playing Yastremska, who has been playing amazingly well, who beat Azarenka surprisingly to me in straight sets. It was tough sets, but still. And this one is tough. I'm gonna go with Yastremska here. I think she is really on fire. She looks so determined when she's playing. Obviously, Noskova can probably play ultra free and just go for it, which is her style. And that can be tricky for Yastremska. Also, I think for both of these players, it's an interesting dynamic where they know that the player they're facing in a Grand Slam quarterfinal is also kind of new to the situation. So this is a little bit of a coin toss based on that. And no result will surprise me here. Maybe a blowout on either side. But yeah, I believe Yastremska is more of a fighting spirit here, and a little bit more experience maybe should help her get the win. But yeah, they're both new to this, and that can create some funny nerves and interesting situations. It will be an interesting match to watch for that reason, I think, because both players are new to this kind of Grand Slam experience in terms of reaching the quarterfinals. Yastremska in 3 sets. Seng was impressive against Dodin, no problem whatsoever, lost only 3 games. She is a threat for the title. I said that in my previous video, and I did think that Paulini would beat Kalinskaya, but Kalinskaya is also playing amazingly well. Another Russian player, very strong Russian player. I would say Seng here, based on her game and her confidence. She looks like she's really feeling herself, really feeling the ball. Obviously, Kalinskaya is in the form of her life as well. But I feel like Seng, with her seeding and her experience, is the more solid player, the more mentally strong player in this match. So I would predict Seng in straights, actually. The way she's playing, I think she can get it done. Then we have Marta Kostyuk against Coco Gauff. Corey Gauff. Gauff, it has looked as good as Sabalenka in this tournament, and would be a finalist against her if they were not already playing in the semifinals, most likely. I think Kostyuk, although she's been playing her, also kind of a tournament of her life, and she was a player that people really talked about, then that really didn't come into play 100%, but she's showing that some strong promise and that the talent is there in this tournament. But I still think that Gauff, with her confidence, with her, winning the US Open, winning the warm-up event, yeah, she should win this match. And I think she will win in straight sets. She is in that kind of mood and that kind of form and becoming that kind of dominant player. So Coco Gauff in the semifinals. Then we have the last one, Aryna Sabalenka, arguably the most impressive player alongside Gauff in this draw, playing Krejcikova, who did beat Andreeva, to my surprise. Not sure exactly what happened there. I thought Andreeva would win that one. She said that she had a pretty good head-to-head, and when she won the first set, that she kind of relaxed a little bit. That's the quote from Andreeva. And I think that could happen. Like if you feel like you have a good score against a player, you are on great form, you win the first set, and then you relax a bit, and then obviously Krejcikova is such a player that she's gonna take advantage and not give you anything for free. And she did manage to win that match, to my surprise. I don't think she has the game to beat Sabalenka, not especially in this form. Sabalenka is playing with such confidence. She just looks there to pick up the trophy and go home. That's the kind of feel you get from her. The vibe, she looks to really be enjoying herself on the tennis court. No weird like double faults or nervous tantrums and stuff like that happening. She's just in control over her emotions. So she seems very stable. And yeah, too much of a tennis game for Krejcikova. And that should also be a straight set match. I predict a lot of straight set matches in the quarterfinals. But what do I know? So Yastremska in 3, Cheng in 2, Gauff in 2, and Sabalenka in 2. We have a great semifinal here as well on the women's side. Gauff versus Sabalenka is going to be amazing. And then a bit more of an open, I would say, semifinal on the other side. In my prediction, it will be Yastremska Zheng. We're nearing the end of the tournament. I have a podcast coming up with Elisa from Elisa's World. We talk about apparel, we talk about the tournament, we talk about players and things that have happened at the Australian Open. So I hope you listen to that and enjoy that. And if you want to know more about rackets and strings and the stuff I usually talk about, you can go to tennisnerd.net and the guide to rackets and strings, all free information, reviews, pro player info, and everything you might want to know about rackets and strings. And if there's something missing, let me know. And if you have questions or you really want like in-depth consultation, there is also a consultation service via Patreon. Links are in the description. Have a nice day now, and don't forget to play some tennis.